want you to take note of this. The president and vice president, whenever I have excused absence of a medical issue, I give them, I have a note saying I can no longer stay in executive session. So I give that to you. It's got a doctor's note on it. It says, he says no more executive session.
I can't wait. I want to see it too. Oh my God. I can't wait for this to be at work.
You got that note? I want to see that now.
You gonna see that? Oh, you
I want
did.
to make sure I get that same note.
Oh.
I just read that.
That's all good.
So I just say, our mission is to inspire, educate, and empower. Our vision is to inspire, educate, and empower scholars for a lasting impact on our campuses.
What?
Just about.
That's right.
Oh, shit.
that's
Look,
right.
you gonna have the same note. You like this, Dr. We're like, Dr. Goodmeyer handles it.
I'm waiting on you. Actually, he catch up.
Don't wait on me.
I now call to order the October 14th board meeting. Madam President, may we have a roll call?
President Goodwine,
Here.
Dr. Bailey,
Here.
Mr. Lacy,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Present.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Present.
Mr. Walker,
Present.
Ms. Wick,
Present.
Ms. Woods,
Present.
7 present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Short.
Ms. Woods?
You were running?
Wow, I fell.
Our mission is to inspire, educate, and empower. Our vision to inspire, educate, and empower scholars for a lasting impact, and our purpose is to cultivate a supportive and engaging educational experience.
Thank you. Dr. Lawrence, can you tell us a little bit about these parent-teacher conferences coming up?
Absolutely. This coming Thursday, which will be the 16th, Thursday evening, and all day, or Friday, 10/17, I think it's Friday morning, Thursday evening, Friday morning, parent-teacher conferences. I really want parents to take advantage of this opportunity to come out and not just look at grades, but build relationships with the teams in the building leadership team, the principal, the assistant principal, and I can see over the top of my glasses, Amber Whitmire is here, the Director of Nutrition Services. I think we're going to have some amazing, tasty treats here from Nutrition Services, so you get a chance to sample what your students are eating during the day, and it's amazing. I've had some of the meals myself. And Board Member Lacy, I think we're going to have the steak croissant. So please come out for Parent-Teacher Conference 10/16, 10/17.
Can you tell them a little bit about the hack system, information that they'll be able to get? here and
Oh,
there?
yeah, Home Access Center. From here on out, you'll be able to access the school, your parents, and any activities through Home Access Center. We had a glitch with that earlier, and I'm looking over the corner of my left eye there, and I saw the IT director eyes go up, and we have got that taken care of. So thank you so much. All parents are able to access Hack now.
Thank you. And I believe Chief Spurlock, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. We're really excited at the elementary level. We just finished out our first quarter. And just really highlighted a few things and initiatives that we put together. Elementary initiative, it was to provide guaranteed experiences through the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance for every student at every grade band, preschool through 6th grade, and that's come to fruition. So some of the titles and some of the things we're having are brass, woodwinds, and string quartets. So that's 3 separate performances at our elementaries, with such titles as The Great Dinosaur Escape, We've also added this year ballet residency, the title including Colorful Emotions in Motion. We also are doing an opera exploration and field trips to Schuster Center and the Masonic Temple. And some of the career connections with some of the programs also include Who Wants to Be a Dancer and Singing Star, Who Wants to Be a Singing Star. So these are some additional things that we've added for elementary schools, and it's very exciting. In alignment with the district's academic action plan, every elementary added a college and career exploration focus to their building plan. And through this career lens, elementaries have and are continuing to plan throughout the school year field trips, focused speakers from various careers, such as a focus maybe on service, so police, fires, EMTs, and then beyond just those basic careers. Several schools held theme days tied to careers or activities to learn more about local colleges, and even some participated in the college signing day in correlation with Why Apply Day. We've had several elementary schools and students that are going to be starting to create wall murals in their buildings to decorate their halls, and they're going to be working with the local artists. We're beginning with the schools of Ruskin, Kaiser, Valerie, Cleveland, Fairview, Louise Troy, Rivers Edge, Westwood, and Charity. So that's our beginning round one, phase one of our student-created murals in our buildings. And this fall, we added elementary participation at high school football games. So students and their families were able to come out to participate in a high school football game, saw the cheerleaders, the bands performed, and even some of our dancing performers. We really want to thank our elementary administrators, teachers, staff, and students and families that came out. It was a lot of fun. The kids were trekking down the field, and it was very exciting. They were really worked up, and they learned even some cheers. But we want to do a special shout out to athletics department that supported this effort, and our high school administrators. If you weren't there and experienced them cheering on the kids and getting them revved up to come down the field, it was pretty wonderful. And we really enjoyed the games, and elementary principals are saying, what are we going to do next? How are we going to include in other sports? We do want to do a special shout out to all of our DPS principals in honor of October, National Principal Month, to honor their dedication and hard work as serving as our school principals. So we can just shout that out. We definitely want to have our parents come out because it's parent-teacher conferences. And at those, you're going to be learning about your students' progress. You're going to learn a little bit about their results on MAP and DIBELS. And we're going to learn about strategies with that home and school connection to make sure we support our students throughout the school year. So we thank you so much, and we look forward to second quarter.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons.
Good evening. In secondary across the district, we're seeing encouraging signs when it comes to student engagement and behavior. Several buildings are reporting fewer students falling back off track with attendance. Belmont, for example, not only met its attendance goals last year on the state report card, they're actually trending better this year as compared to the same time last year. So the city of Belmont is well on its way to reaching its attendance targets yet again. To support this progress, we've launched multiple efforts under Dr. Lawrence's Safe and Secure Hallways initiative. This includes Thursday, Friday, and Saturday school, as well as detailed hallway tracking. We're now monitoring how many students are in the halls each bell. We've also implemented a daily tardy calls to parents to improve on-time attendance. We're also seeing a noticeable drop in unruly, disruptive behavior throughout the district. While a few hot spots remain, overall, we're in much better shape than last year. One key sign of improvement is we've had 0 incidents at the football stadium during football season. I'm also thrilled to share a major success from last week. We moved nearly 500 students to the Montgomery County Career Expo at the Convention Center. This incredible event, sponsored by Commissioner Carolyn Rice, gave our students exclusive access to the county career opportunities. Every department there set up hands-on activity stations to engage our students in informing them what careers are available with the county. with strong collaboration across multiple teams, including our principals, transportation, safety and security, and our life coaches, along with many others. We've moved all 500 freshmen in and out of the facility in a timely and efficient manner. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone who played a part in making this event a success. If I missed anyone, it's my sincere apologies. We're also starting several after-school programs, specifically Wright Brothers, prioritizing ELA. At Thurgood, they've selected 20 STEM ambassadors to partner with Logo to work with therapy fourth graders. Thurgood will also host their first STEM night during parent-teacher conferences. And at Dunbar, 8 students have received early acceptance to Wright State University early this year. So we're rocking and rolling, and we look forward to our second quarter. Thank you. Second semester. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any bargaining unit members here to speak tonight? Don't see any. Class. All right, Madam Treasurer, do we have anyone signed up to speak tonight?
Yes.
All
We have
right. 1 second. Speakers, please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. It is inappropriate to address any matter involving pending disputes, grievances under a labor agreement, disciplinary actions involving an employer or student, ongoing labor negotiations, concerns or matter that have already been settled, and or any matter which, because of its nature, is deemed appropriate to be discussed in executive session. Mr. Walker will be your timekeeper for the evening. Go ahead.
Breezy Smith. Breezy Smith. That's it.
All right, thank you. Dr. Lawrence, your first recommendation?
My first recommendation is acceptance of the superintendent's personnel agenda, items B through C. B through G, thank you.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Ms. Wick. Are there any questions on the motion?
A moment. I think I'm good right now.
All right. Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
Madam Treasurer, can I change my vote to abstain?
Abstain?
Yes.
My next recommendation is the acceptance of the Human Resources DE after July 10th for a vote.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Dr. Bailey.
Yes.
Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
No.
Dr. Bailey,
No.
Mr. Lacy,
No.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
yes. Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes. No, sorry.
Thought I had another one.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
No.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
Okay. 2 yeses, 5 no.
Thank you. Your first recommendation for review?
My first recommendation for review, contracts. Please see the contracts below while you're looking. I'll go over some of them. Congratulations to the Meadowdale senior team. They are cooking with hot grease to sell them over their meeting. They already have their rental agreement for the senior dinner dance. That's significant because that's months and months and months from now. City of Dayton Fire and Police, we do that every year. We're actually ahead of schedule now. Dayton Performing Arts Alliance, thank you to Ms. Miner and Dr. Bailey and Ms. Reinert and Board Member Walker, who traveled around the nation last year looking at arts schools, and now we brought that back to extend those services to our pre-K through 6s. Elevate K-12, we, like all the other districts in the nation, struggle with science and math teachers, so a special thanks to Ms. Keisha Sheehy and her team for contracting through Elevate K-12 for those very difficult subjects, science and math at Belmont. It's going to be in our 8th grade and it's all the other schools as well. This is our second year. And then MGT Solutions, they won a contracted bid. The state gave us 4 different companies to select from in terms of school turnaround, and Dunbar was one of those school turnaround schools that was listed, and MGT Solutions, this is their pilot program here. They're supposed to be great. We'll find out in the near future. And then further down, you see NordLink, EBI, which is what we use for Tier 2 and 3 assessments as we think about MTSSS and how we determine whether kids are moving forward. And then there's Meadowdale again, Scene 75, in terms of their prom and after prom. And I know the question's coming, Board Member Walker. I text everyone, because it was easy for me to text you instead of email, all the other dates for the for the high schools for their prom. And yes, it's soon to come. I'll be able to tell you about their after proms, and I hope they get on the Meadowdale bandwagon and get their senior dinner dates done early.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Mr.
Yeah.
Walker, Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Mr. Walker can go
He
first.
didn't even say anything.
He didn't even say
I heard,
anything. He's good.
but I knew he
He's
had
good.
questions, so you go ahead, Mr. Smith.
He's good, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Walker's starting to look like me, I guess. Dr. Lawrence, could
Yes, sir.
you please give me a little more information on what are we expecting from the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance? And what that calendar look like?
I'm going to ask Ms. Minor to come up and talk about that.
Knew I should have asked her instead.
Absolutely. Look, she's the one went out on the country with you. Did you went on the trips too?
Well,
No, I didn't.
I think you went on the trips too.
well, good
glad
evening,
to be back.
board members. Dr. Lawrence, thank you for the question. Board Member Smith, and Ms. Spurlock mentioned some of it because it has started to happen. Our goal was to provide 100% of our elementary students with experiences in the arts, and Dayton Performing Arts Alliance is one of the first contracts we have. They are providing free services, well, we are paying for it, but through the contract, they'll get free performances to attend at the Schuster and the Victoria throughout the year. The orchestra will be coming on site, the brass, woodwind, the opera, and ballet lessons. So all the schools, it's already scheduled out, and so throughout the year, they'll have multiple arts experiences on this contract.
Ms. Minor, would you invite the board members to those performances?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sure
Thank you.
will. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Mr. Walker?
Yeah, $500,000 for 2 schools, a turnaround program?
Yeah.
Is that a typo of a zero, or that's the actual amount?
No, that's the actual grant that, it's the turnaround grant that was offered to schools and school improvement throughout the state of Ohio. And we were able to apply and receive those funds from the state. So it's not our general funds. It's resources to help coach our leadership, as well as provide tutoring supports, comprehensive tutoring, to rapidly raise student achievement in those 2 schools. So
Board Member
that's
Walker.
not, it's a full year of support.
I hear your question on another front. I said earlier that the state gave us 4 options to be fully transparent. When you're in school turnaround, they vet the companies, they give you options, and then when you get the grant, the money's funneled to one of those 4. We vetted those 4. We think MGT is the best. And then if they're successful in this space, we can maybe use them further down the line. They have shown significant success in Akron.
So is this similar to SIG?
It's different than SIG.
Okay.
They actually had already identified organizations that had proven support, where with SIG, back in the day, the school had to do all the research.
Right.
In this
Right.
case, the state did the research, and they only offered certain schools. So we were certain organizations of improvement, and we were able to select who we thought was best aligned with our needs. So it's
Okay,
kind of
I just
different.
want to make sure this was not one of those cases of SIG, of
No.
those.
It's a good question.
All right.
Yeah, SIG was loose. This is much tighter, and not
Yeah.
every school was able to earn the grant. So I want to see what MGT does. They're at every major conference. If you're going to council next week, you'll see them. When I'm at Chiefs for Change, you'll see him. AASA, they dominate in certain sections around the country, and many of my superintendent colleagues in urban centers swear by them. So I'm interested to see what happens.
Perfect, thank you. And then my next question is, can I just have, and I don't know if my colleagues may want the same thing, just some data on how Elevate K-12 is going in the high school setting? And I did not know that it was happening in the middle school, but if that data can be shared as well.
Yeah, I know Chief Sheehy and her team, they have the data from last year,
Okay.
and we can share that and any preliminary data, but last year's is probably what you want to look at.
Yes. And then lastly, I'm interested in the National Conference for Community Childhood Trauma piece. Is that building focused, or is that district-wide that work is going to be done, or how would that take place? Project initiative to address childhood trauma for the 25-26 school year, 141,000.
Oh, it says Title I, so that means district-wide.
Okay. All right. And that's all my questions.
No problem.
Thank you. I had one for you on the
MGT.
Yes.
Mhm.
How does that work or pair with the NGL process that we're currently going through? Like, will it work parallel to it, or will we now
Yeah.
segment these two out of that one? Since technically it's a whole different company doing that, just a little information on that.
Yeah, so our Forward Next Generation Learning is about building academies and opportunities at all the high schools. And it's a pre-K to 12 initiative of the College and Career Readiness and Opportunities. The services that MGT will provide to both Wagaman and Dunbar are all around raising student achievement and helping the instructional leaders of the building maintain and sustain that. So it's targeted just for those schools. The other is all about opportunities, bringing partners in to guarantee that 100% of our students after they graduate have a diploma plus. College credits, opportunities to enroll, enlist successfully in the military, graduate with credentials, certifications, scholarships, and all of that. It's all about beyond high school. This is to raise the achievement at Dunbar and Wagaman, so their work will be aligned with that.
Can we get a written explanation of these two, kind of where they differ, where some intersections will occur? And also, can we get a piece of this to put on both the Wagaman and Dunbar websites too?
Yes.
Yep,
Just for individuals
absolutely.
who may wanna
That's
know
great.
That's a good idea.
that benefit.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Are there any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Along with the request for information data on Elevate K-12, can I ask with that, if we can kind of see on an anecdotal level, what has been, or has there been any changes? I know some of the students earlier in the year, and I know there have been work to kind of alleviate some of that, so I want to see how that went as far as the interaction, the triangle interaction between the students,
Mm-hmm.
person on the screen, and then the
Yeah.
proctor in the room. I know there have been just some difficulties with students trying to adapt to how that process works, and you know, having some confusion at times. And I know that, like I said before, there have been some work going on during the year to try to help with that and work on that. But I would definitely love if we can get some information on how that's been going.
We
Yeah.
evaluate it every year. We absolutely can get that to you at the end of the first quarter. It's time for us to take a look at that. We do know that last year, Elevate K-12, they outperformed the teachers who were in the classroom. So we certainly are tracking this, and we'll get you some first quarter anecdotal feedback. Knowing you've probably already been in one of the classrooms.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Minor. Thank you too, Dr. Lewis.
One more question. With the MGT solution, can we also get some information regarding the company? I know Dr. Lawrence stated they did something in Akron. Akron's not necessarily a credible source for me when it comes to a multitude of things, so I
I
would
sit
like.
around the country.
You said Akron too.
And I sit around the
You
country.
specifically said Akron. That's the
I mean-
last thing you got us for NGL too.
I mean,
You really like Akron. Man.
We will get
But
you.
yeah, just want to know more about this company
Yeah.
and the actual personnel in that one. And then I'm interested if we've ever worked with any of the personnel in this company, not necessarily the name of this company, in our district in the past 5
Oh,
years.
Like some of their consultants, have we worked with
Correct.
them? Yeah, I'll
Because then I'll
find
be
out.
interested, how'd that go for us?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
so,
find out.
No problem.
Yep. I was partially here. I believe that they are, I believe some of the individuals, which is why I'm asking you guys to confirm for me or not, if they are a part of the company that worked with us in the 3 years that I've been here. 3.5 years.
When we started, there were elements of MGT here, and we eliminated their services immediately upon me getting the job. And now we'll see what happens.
Now we're going with them again.
We'll see what happens, you know, we cut
You
them off.
said you had 4 choices. and you went with this one. That's an interesting thing. Any other questions?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Rolling the dice. Could we please, Dr. Lawrence, get with the iVideo Technologies, I'm interested in seeing, the status of some of the programs over at Ponance and Meadowdale. So if we can get some kind of piece around just the status of what's going on with those pathways. Really excited about seeing some of the things that we've been doing over there, but would definitely love to hear more, and some of the things that we may not know are ways that the community could be made aware at one of our meetings, and ways they can help out. And I just think it's really a good positive thing. So appreciate seeing this on there, and just wanted to put that on your radar.
I got you this Thursday in my weekly, and I'll bring it up again next week.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Follow-up question for you. What location are these instructors at? In the past, I've seen the school on there, the fire program and the police program. Where are these gonna be located at? Can we have this reflected to state their actual location for the people can, they said opponents? And then if I can follow up, because, talking about when you first got on the board, but up here with us. We did have the fire program at Belmont, and we took it out of Belmont. And we never really got that explanation on why that happened.
Oh, I think you and I talked about that.
I'm not the only one in the district who wants to know why the program is not there anymore. So tell us a little bit about why.
I sure will. I was named the superintendent, I think, on something like July 11th. And at the next meeting, which was July 18th, the agenda breezed right through, and it was taken out of Belmont. And so I had no idea that was happening. I was the interim superintendent. I didn't know what was going on. I just sat here. So that was something placed on here previous, but a previous superintendent. And I don't know who the president was then, but it just blew right through, and there we have it.
Can we revisit why we don't have that program?
Yeah, I would gladly revisit it.
It's an opportunity to get back, because I do know that school had a good thing going.
Yeah.
Can I,
Go ahead.
are students really taking advantage of the firefighting and program, or is it mainly EMT that they're taking part in?
Oh, they're doing both. We can get you over there. That Nevaeh's looking like I got you. Look at that big smile. They're over there
I
doing
actually
both.
I kind of wanted to answer that.
Go
only
right ahead,
because at Ponance we have EMT, and then we have criminal justice, and I feel like they definitely take advantage of the opportunities that were provided, especially EMT and criminal justice. And sometimes different pathways do go and ask for help from Mr. S, which is Mr. Shropshire, and Ms. Savage. Like, I know myself, I want to do the ride-along with the police station, just to see, like, what do they really do and what does their job really consist of? So, yes, we do take advantage of those opportunities.
So this a ride along with the police or a ride along with the fire EMT?
Police.
Interesting.
But you could also do a ride-along with the fire department, too.
They still got fire trucks with no AC? I say, yeah, I'm a pass.
Ask me that when I get back from my ride-along, okay?
That's a bet. That's a bet.
Yes, I would like to see us explore expanding the fire EMT program, because that is something you can do immediately out of high school, unlike the police force. You gotta be 21 to do that one. And just knowing, like every other field, the shortage for EMT and fire individuals is huge. And because, I manage a fire department, I see it every day. So
I met your fire chief.
it would be, I think it's a really good opportunity if we can get that program in more spaces in our district. It would not only help the city of Dayton fire, it was there large, that it's just a good opportunity.
You said the key word, exploration. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not a question, more so a follow-up for that with Dr. Lawrence. At that time, a lot of what was moving or what was brought was the low number of students that we had in the program at the time. and that there was concern around trying to figure out if, as we move forward, was there going to stay at Belmont, or was it going to move out of Belmont, or was it going to stay in that space but then allow other students from around the district to somehow participate in the program? That was kind of what was swirling at the time. And then things changed, and somehow you got here, and we're here tonight, yeah, so, but yes, that was what was going on at the time. But I do think, like, where we are now, especially with some of the changes at Belmont and some of the flexibility we have, some of the things that we've put in as far as resources, some of the things that we've tried around getting children into other buildings, or, increase the capacity for children to take CCP courses, things like that. I think we're in a different space where I think it would be
absolutely.
worthwhile to look into possibly what that looks like. Does it look like having a Belmont program, or is that like a district-wide programs with some of the pieces anchored at Belmont? Because that was kind of what was going on at the time, which it's one of those pieces where when you look at numbers, it may not always be reflective of what the trend may be. It may just be what's going on at that school at that time with the class of students at that moment. So I definitely think when we have some of these opportunities to look into it, I would appreciate you looking into all the options.
Will do. I always thank you for your historical context. You remember, the history of things, and I was just trying to make sure there was no graffiti on the walls. I was a business manager.
Oh my gosh, I gotta get this.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, your next recommendation for review?
Please, I'd love for the board to take a look at the consultants. This is an extension of the work that, again, you all did in traveling, using the Dayton Foundation money to go to Atlanta and I think Houston. We're, continuing arts programs, Allwood, Dayton Contemporary Dance, and Muse Machine.
Any questions? All right, your next recommendation?
My next recommendation is I'd like you to take a look at the Voya leave recommendation, the leave management services agreement. Essentially, what this means is now that we have a fully staffed HR department, we are working to bring aspects of HR that we're outsourcing back into HR so that we can manage it. So we're going to manage our leave management services internally now. So that's what you see in this agreement.
All right, any questions on the resolution?
So it's,
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
do we currently pay for this from them?
Yes.
So you know how much we're saving now with the coming back in house?
I will get that for you, but yeah, yes, we currently pay for this, and Dr. Davis and I we were like, we got some of these things we got to get out of this, as well as the sub-service, ESS service. There are about 5 or 6 things we talked about. Actually, I'm gonna put them all in my weekly update, and I'll try to put all the costs in there as well.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Any other questions? Does that conclude your recommendations?
That concludes my recommendations, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. I believe you have a presentation for us.
Yes.
Let's do it.
I have a presentation and approval of the financial forecast. Leslie? Okay. So this time, what we going to have is the financial forecast is changed from November to October of this year. Next time, the same way. It's going to be October and February. So we're going to start with this financial forecast, and we'll discuss as I continue into this presentation. The purpose and the objectives of this financial forecast is to engage the Board of Education and the community in the long-range planning and discussions of financial issues facing the school district, to serve as a basis of determining the school district's ability to sign the certificate required by ORC 57 of 5.412 certificate, commonly known as 412 certificates, to provide a method for the Department of Education and Auditor of State to identify the districts with potential financial problems. Forecast changes due to HB 96. Ohio Revised Code 5705.391 and Ohio Administrative Code 3301-92-04 requirements. Current state budget changed to the dates of districts' forecast submissions. Fiscal year 26 requires a Board of Education to submit a financial forecast along with the assumptions to the Ohio Department of Education by October 15 and an update by the end of February of each year. For fiscal year 27, they changed it again. The date moved to August 31st and an update to February 28. Required funds to be included in this forecast: general fund, any special cost centers associated with general fund money, emergency levy fund 016, debt service fund activity that otherwise have gone through. All these are necessary, but the Ohio Department of Education requires us to file last year's actual, current year budget, and 3 years forecast. So we're going to send that one. I prepared that according to the requirement. But for our district, what I did is I kept the 5-year forecast for planning purposes. Key line items for us. The financial forecast is divided into 2 sections, revenue and expenditures. District's revenue made up of 2 main sources, local and state funding. When we say state funding, our foundation, and the local is our taxes and miscellaneous. The expenditures are mainly salary and benefits, supplies and materials, and purchased services. So, developing the budget and the forecast. What we did is we looked at the strategic plan and goals, legislation as much as we could. They kept on changing. Analyze all the trendy data and of our revenues and expenditures. We calculated according to what we think we should get from the state, and we calculated according to our valuations and meals for our taxes, since they are the main source of our revenues. That's how we get here. But we still have some concerns. For 26-27 state budget legislation, HB 96, the current state budget provided no increase in foundation funding, only small amounts outside the formula. That's what we got. More importantly, there are still proposed laws in impact local property tax and valuations that could reduce local funds for all public schools in Ohio. Proposals from the work group or future legislative actions seem imminent that would impact property tax which our revenue is 32% in property tax. Also, HB 96 included in piggyback tax exemptions law that allows county commissioners to give a second tax credit for homestead and home owners, 2.5% credit without reimbursement. This could cost our district 2.9 million if approved by our commissioners. Continued on that. The House voted in July to override one of the governor's vetoes on levy types. The Senate has not considered this veto yet, or if they will move to override other vetoes. The Senate can act all the way up to December 2026. In essence, portions of HB 96 may not be final until that date, which is 12/31/2026. The Taxpayers' Freedom Trilogy Act was introduced in August. They are HB 420, HB 421, and HB 422. These bills, if passed in law, would eliminate continuing levies, potentially set aside inside meal, and create more than 50% approval margins for a new levy. All would be devastating to our local revenues we count on to educate our children. Any changes could be significant to the state funding and property taxes because they correlate both of them. So what I am showing you in here is the trend. Local revenues versus state revenues. 3 years of the actual and three years projected. As you can see from this one, the revenues are really flat, and we are heavily dependent on these two sources. So for this year, for fiscal year 2026, which we are already budgeted and working on, we're showing state funding foundation 58.5%. Other state is 2.9. Those are the homestead and rollbacks. They come through the state. Real estate taxes, 26.9. PAP taxes, 5.5. Other local is 2.7. Mainly other local is our interest income from our investments. So, as you can see, the two buckets we have, state funding is 61.4, and the local is 38.6. So we are very dependent on these two sources. Now we'll go to the expenditure line items. This is our expenditures for this year as budgeted. Wages, we have 51.9%. Benefits, 19%. Purchase, 21%. Capital, 2%. Other, 2%. Can you, Leslie? Okay. Can you change? Okay. Yeah. Estimated general fund expenditures for fiscal year 26 by objective for the forecast period. On this one, I'm showing you the way I showed you for the revenue section. We saw our revenue is flat, but our expenditures are rising. So the revenue cannot keep up to our expenditure. Right now, we are dipping into our fund balances. This line graph is revenue, expenditures, and cash balances. As you can see, the blue line is our revenues and the red line are expenditures. And the green one is our fund balance. As we go, we are using our fund balance to cover our expenditures. Consequently, our fund balance is dropping. So, and this one, we have a policy, 5% policy on reserve. We will fund until fiscal year 27. But after that, we cannot reserve that 5%, and we'll discuss with the board what to do with that reserve next year. The next slide shows ending cash balance as a true cash. In this one, what I'm trying to show is if we don't get any money from outside with what we have, how many days can we go? So in 23, we could go 227, 24, 212, 25, 118, 26, 114, 27, 17. And after that, we cannot survive with no revenue coming. So 30-day cash balance as related to expenditure. So up to 2027, we have 70 as recommended by GFOA. After that, we don't have it. So I'm still having concerns and reassessing what we can do. HB 33 continued the fair school funding plan. We anticipate it to be continued until 26 and 27 biennium budget. The revenue is estimated to grow by less than a quarter, 1/4% annually over the next 5 years, while our expenses are estimated to grow by 1.2% a year. Really, we are worried especially about the tax reform. Besides that, this forecast, we are forecasting positive for the next 3 years as required by OD. Do you have any question?
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Go ahead, Mr. Walker, then Mr. Lacy.
Can I have clarity on what is the PUP tax, I think, PUPP tax?
Those are public property, the utility, and all that.
Okay. And then lastly, okay, so this is general fund revenue, but does federal have its own thing, or is that counted into this at some point?
No, this is only general funds or associated, any other funds associated with general fund.
Okay, and then lastly for me, I believe that the Senate did confirm the House's override. Ms. Reiner, is that?
No,
Did they, I thought they came back and met and had confirmed the override.
yes, they confirmed the override. They are still talking though.
Okay. Not the House, but the Senate. I thought the Senate came back from break and had confirmed the actual override.
I think they override some
Yeah.
things, but
Yeah.
not, but they could still override more.
Yeah, until
Until next year,
26,
yeah.
until 26, December of 2026.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Madam
Thank you.
President, Madam Treasurer.
Mr. Lacy?
And yeah, thanks for the presentation, Madam Treasurer. Okay, so our current 5-year forecast, it shows the final 2 years going into deficit. That's based on the assumptions that we have. If it were 3 years, wouldn't the state be, according to the law, have to act? Did that change or something?
Yeah, they changed it now. We are required to show 3 years. So for 3 years, if you go into the
So for the next
one,
3 years, so for
the next 3
26,
years,
27, and 28?
28, I'm positive,
Okay.
okay?
And what, so
If,
what?
if 28 is negative, the state will come and try to ask us how we're going to overcome.
We'd have to put together a
Yeah,
plan
a
to
plan
overcome that.
Yeah,
And then if we continued, I mean,
if we continue, they
if we
will
continued
come-
to have in the 3rd year for the succeeding forecasts, then at some point, they could actually just take us over, couldn't they, or take over our finances?
Yes, if we cannot show them how we can come back to a positive, yes.
And then still, on the other side, the legislature doesn't want us to build up a surplus
Yes.
to prevent that from happening. So it's like we have to thread a needle
Yes.
with our finances.
We are lucky we were having the reserves now. While other districts are laying off, we didn't lay off. And we are dipping into our reserves right now. That's how we are managing not to go to a layoff or anything.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Ms. Reiner.
Just to confirm, on October 2nd, earlier this month, the Senate did finish the process and did override what the House started. So the first portion, the very first override of the governor's line item veto happened. I have done a pretty extensive deep dive into the property tax reform. I'm not going to piggyback on your presentation right now because it's under new business.
Yeah.
But I'll come back to this. There's a lot that I'd like to bring to the district's attention.
I did want to have a follow-up too.
Let me go. There you go. You already had the first bite. A couple questions for you here. Actually, it's not just for you, Madam Treasurer. I'm actually typing in superintendent and business manager, because this is a group project when it comes to our finances and what's going on here. So the forecast, we show a negative cash balance by fiscal year '29, and then 95 million by fiscal year 2030. I'm curious on what corrective actions are you guys planning now at this point, and kind of what needs to start happening to make those adjustments, again, with the assumptions that are in this forecast right now and the other things that we are seeing that are happening? How are you guys protecting us as a district, not only our students, but our staff who work here in those pieces? Because as Madam Treasurer stated, we haven't had to do layoffs, but we are dipping into the reserves. We are trending downward, so. Any of you guys?
I
Since you
think.
plan stuff, go ahead.
Yeah, I think as the district, the superintendent, treasurer, and the business manager, we have to sit and discuss what we can do without affecting the instructional expenditures. So we have to sit and analyze it first, and after that, we can do what we can do. But I would like to meet with both of them and see what we can do.
Okay, so
But I don't want to affect any instructional at this time.
So we're gonna put that plan together, and I'm gonna ask for our next retreat for you guys to bring us that type of information, because this is stuff that needs to start happening now. Next question for you. Given the trajectory of what is going on here, and I know this is a conversation that hasn't happened since 2008, but what are we talking about, or should we start considering a levy? And if so, when do you want these type of conversations to occur? Like, are we at that point? Again, group project here, so
Yeah,
3 leaders, feel free to hop up.
Yeah,
'Cause
we
actually we need to talk about this.
we haven't discussed it, but what I think is next year we have to start looking into discussions and what we need to be used those levies. And we have to have a package and a discussion and try to do a survey.
Other 2 teammates, thoughts on this?
I'll just kind of echo what Hewitt shared. I think it's critical that we come together and put together a plan to not only look at positions within the district, unfilled positions, positions that don't necessarily impact our educational programming, but I mean, it's been since 2008 since we've passed a levy. I think it's absolutely imperative that we sit down and put a plan together for that.
Okay.
So
You
we'll
got
be
anything?
ready by the next retreat.
I think the plan isn't just about reductions in force or levies. I think those are 2 components. I think the other one is, we've had some initial discussions around how we retain and increase the number of students. What does that mean as it relates to middle school? We've had surveys around K-8 and returning to those, and we've had a huge parent support of returning to some K-8s, meaning they would not take their students out of DPS after the 6th grade. They would stay in DPS. Those are assets or resources in addition to students. We found a significant success at River's Edge already with our pilot for this year, and the parent support at Cleveland, Eastmont, and Horace Mann has been extraordinary. So we also have found success at Charity. This board was here when, actually I was out there at the time, and you added 7th and then went to 8th, and that school was up about 136 girls. And so we went from, hey, we're gonna close it, to now we continue to increase in that space. So I think it's a comprehensive conversation, comprehensive plan. The 3 leaders, we're part of it, but we began that conversation today at Cabinet, which is usually 90 minutes. We spent the first 60 minutes, which is unusual. The treasurer and her team were the focus of the presentation. So every leader in this district that has, in that room, every leader in that room supervises the other 2,300 employees. So everybody in that room, everybody in this district reports to one of us. And so we had the overarching conversation today so that we can begin to, as you asked for, put together a plan.
Appreciate it. I mean, those are things that, like, you guys are the actual workforce that leads this district, and people need to hear what's going on. And if they don't hear from you guys frequently, they will make up their own narratives, and then chaos will happen. So those are some goals here, us trying to prevent that. Couple more, and then I'll get back to you, Mr. Walker. Okay, so the piggyback property tax exemption there, saw that estimated to lose about $3 million if that's adopted. Do we have any contingencies if the county did adopt that, of how we can make up that? Again, team project here. Any of you guys jump out there?
I have regular conversations with county commissioners, and I've not heard from them yet that they're going to move in that direction. Like, Commissioner Rice and I met to actually begin discussions for the countywide project that happened earlier this week. You and I actually have sat down with Commissioner McDonald, and I've sat down with her afterwards. I've got no indication that that's been the case. So we have frequent conversations with them. To answer your question, do we have a plan? No, but I don't have any indication right now that they will move in that direction.
Okay. The 38 million that we transferred to the workers' comp and the capital improvement fund. So what happens in 27 when those one-time fundings, like if those disappear? What's our plan? Or is that another one of those ones, a part of this, as you guys are starting to work on?
The plan is we have to look into our expenses, if we can reduce our expenses, and try to look for any other grants or something.
Okay, so outside of us looking at or hearing about the 5-year forecast, are there other trigger points for you all that kind of, I hear today, you start looking at this stuff, but we're trending in that? Do you have anything else that kind of accelerates what you're looking of when we need to pivot or things that need to come to fruition? Because what I don't want to do is all of a sudden we have to cut all these purchase services or something like that because we no longer have the funds on it. So I'm asking, is there something that is triggering when you know like we have to do something versus we're still in planning phases?
I'll ask Madam Treasurer to follow up on what I'm going to say next. We knew this day was coming today. If we didn't see any increases in funding, once the biennial budget was passed and we didn't see any increases, that was the trigger to say that the number of staff we had that were in ESSER's funds that we were carrying, that we could no longer carry that any further. And it becomes, they have to come back to general funds. So that was the trigger, the biennial budget. And so we're having the public conversation today, but I would say that this is a conversation that the treasurer and myself, and for years actually, and then now the business manager have had. So for me, it was the biennial budget and no increase. And then after that, you can see the attack on carryover. And then as board member Lacey said, like you have to, there just are a lot, there's an all-out offensive right now in terms of how we deal with public school finance. And so we're in a situation now.
All right, my final question, and then back to you, Mr. Walker. Just want you to be ready. Pass it over. So our goal is to protect classroom instruction and student-facing services. So I'm a little curious too, as the trigger point became that biennial budget and that piece, what are the preliminary conversations about how we actually protect those items if we do get to a point where we have to start making reductions?
So I think the conversations are about, are centered around how programming and people are tightly coupled and loosely coupled to the whole educational process. And that's an ongoing conversation. It's a deep dive and analysis into what matters the most and what we can do without. And so when you think about it, you have classroom teachers, right? Absolutely imperative to make sure we have teachers in the classroom. That goes for subject intervention specialists, very tightly coupled. That coupling loosens a little bit when you get into specials teachers. You know, I've been in situations where we've had to decrease the number of our specials teachers. And then you just work your way outward. You know, transportation is absolutely critical. We have to have, you know, drivers get our students to school every day. And I know I won't even put that out there today, but it's a conversation. It's very complex, but it needs to happen now.
So yes, we do need to figure, or at least know what we're looking at, because what I don't want us to do, we've done a good job of rebuilding from the last time that this district made a lot of cuts. We just got back to having arts daily for some schools. I think this is like the first year you can go to music, gym, and what's the other one? Art, music, gym, and that piece of it. Gym.
That's Jim.
That's gym. Oh my gosh.
The gym is the location.
This is true.
What is it today?
Gym.
Thank
Gym
you.
is gym.
That's what the kids call it. But that piece of it, I mean, the seriousness here is, it's taken a long time to get where we are. And if we don't make the necessary moves now to protect as much as we can, because I mean, funding is it's a tangible piece right there. So and I'm gonna speak for the board, and they can say something different if they want to. We as board members need the leadership team, as well as the people in this district to work with the leadership team to start making these plans, because otherwise we'll be back in a situation like this is like 5-10 years to get here. And if all of a sudden we gotta do cutoff because we didn't predict, or we hoped it would happen, or we were naive in the sense of maybe it won't hit us. We gotta protect as much as we can so that the next group of individuals in all of our seats on the board and on the staff, they aren't starting all the way over again, and it's another 10 to 20 years to get them back to the point we are, because we got really good traction going right now.
I agree.
And I want us to keep moving as much as we can, but I also don't want us to get to the point where we can't move. So, Mr. Walker.
Thank you. So I just want to be clear, because we know how the media likes to spin things. This is not us saying we are looking tomorrow to look at cuts that we're going to make here at the district.
No.
Perfect. Appreciate that. Hopefully that gets printed that way, that is not what we are saying. The second part, Madam Treasurer, looking at this budget, general property taxes here, we are not, there's no line item basically for the like one-time payment or yearly payment from TIF agreements or anything like that that's counted into this, right?
It is counted, everything is counted.
Everything's counted in here?
Yes.
Okay, is there a way to get like a breakdown of how much revenue we're missing out on with these type of agreements in place compared to if this was actually no agreement and those dollars were actually coming in?
Yeah, I can bring it,
Okay.
yes.
And the second part is, I would be interested in even the ones that, there's a state law that gives cities the opportunity to approve up to 75% for a TIF agreement, and then districts, those agreements that the city may have done that are in place as well, that takes revenue from the district. I think for me, I definitely be interested in seeing what a levy looks like. I think, and I just did a search of other, the other 8 districts, of the 7 districts in this Ohio 8, what an income tax levy would look like or something like that as well. And just seeing if that's something for us to look at as well. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Reiner.
Thank you, Madam President. So there are 2 things that I want to bring forward to the discussion. First is, I think that the questions about how will we go about this in the most careful, cautious way, if we have to, while preserving the classroom experience and the resources in the academic aspect of what we do, is really important. And it's interesting that this comes up kind of in this context. I would like to reiterate that whoever is here in January, I highly, highly, highly urge this board to go through student outcome-focused governance. If we're going to be going through this process, I think making sure that this board is unified in vision and how we best focus on student outcomes. So that way the public can be assured that we are doing this with all of the knowledge and all the tools in our tool belt. The second is that I think, I've not ever been here. I've been here for 8 years. We've not had a levy since 2008, which is way before I came here on the board. I believe Board Member Lacey, so actually, show of hands of the board and of our direct reports, who has been here or supervised, overseen, been in a position of leadership in a district where we've had a levy? I'm just curious, in case I'm missing something.
I was a sophomore in high school.
So district, okay, thank you. So that's helpful. We've got a number of people here who we can count on as a resource. I do want to put out, this is another very, very good timing. As board members, we have to be very, very careful about how we go through the levy process. Legally, there are things we cannot do, and I do not want to put this district in any sort of precariousness. I want to make sure that everybody knows what our role is and what our role is not. Next month, I think all of us are going to Capitol Conference out in Columbus. They will have, I'm sure, at least 1 or 2 sessions about Levy 101. I would highly encourage every single board member who's attending the conference to go to as many levy sessions as possible, and then we can discuss it afterwards. We can come together and, as a board, talk about what we learned, show the public, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do, this is what we need from the public. I want to make sure that we're doing this right, and especially knowing we don't have, at least half of us have never done this before. So I'm happy to spearhead that. I'm happy to do some research and give resources to board members and let you guys know when and where the sessions are. But we have some really good pieces of information and opportunities for us to learn and dive into our professional development quite soon. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Board Member Wood, then Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Thank you for this informative report, Madam Treasurer, based on some of the information that Board Member Reinert has too under her, her public content around property taxes and proposals that are happening. I mean, this is not, I mean, I'm happy that we're on the front end of this and we see kind of some of the alarming situations that we have to respond to as leaders, but I also know that we have a city of 140,000 people that is also built for 500,000 people. So, you know, when we talk about property taxes and that being a large portion of what funds this, and that we have escalating property taxes, and we have 2,300 employees. I just invite all of our community members, I know if you're watching and you have a student here that you probably live in the district and you're paying some sort of taxes because you live here and you go to schools here, but I invite all of our employees, all of our staff to look at our rich real estate that we have in our community and come back and be a part of our community. Community is wherever you go when you go out your front door, on your front porch, you live in a neighborhood, you give back to your neighborhood, you give wherever you are. So, you know, I'm a proud resident of the city of Dayton. I have been for 40 plus years, and certainly am proud to pay my share of property taxes that go to fund this important public education model. And I invite all of our staff, our employees, our teachers, our bus drivers, everybody to come back to the city and live and help make our schools stronger. So, thank you.
Mr. Smith?
All right, first I'll start from the beginning of, I'm glad that Mr. Walker also stated what I wanted to state around the fact that we're not trying to make a doom and gloom and head for the hills cutting motion out here right now. But I also do want us to recognize that, as the president stated, we need our leadership to come together and work. I also want to add that to do so, our district needs our board to keep in mind the fiscal prudence that we need to hold as we move forward as well. We have the ability to put things out there that then cost money as well. We have things that run us up around the district, and just how do we deal with things, or how do we invest in employees so we're not then looking at employee turnover. Like, the things that we need to do on our behalf is very important to the financial future of this district. So I want us to understand the gravity of that when we're in this space. So I appreciate the conversation that we're talking about. Also want to say thank you, Madam Treasurer, for the outstanding work as always. And as we talk about one of the things that we do not see a lot around here, it's throughout the history of Dayton Public Schools, through my lifetime, there's not been a lot of levies. It's not been a thing. But as someone who's actually worked on multiple levies at the city level and at the county level, it's rather clear about what we can and cannot do. So I would like our staff to just be aware of that, and as well as what board members can and cannot do. One of the things we cannot do is put any money towards a levy. It's one of the biggest things that we cannot do is put any money towards the levy. We cannot put any money towards campaigning, publishing, those kind of things. We cannot pay employees for any time spent on activities to influence a levy. That does not mean that employees cannot go out there and, if there was a case, or even to speak on it in a positive nature, we as a board can speak of things, we can give factual information. What we cannot do is speak for the entire board as one board member. Other things we can do, we can actually openly campaign for a levy as a individual, as a board member. It's just how you do it. So I appreciate us having that conversation because it's something that I have done multiple times and very successfully, I may add. But I do want us to be mindful of that. But in reality, the real way you pass any of these things is community trust. And that is the huge part of why the biggest way to get the community behind supporting any kind of initiative, whether it be a levy, whether it be donations, whether it be just advocacy, is what work do we put out there? What product are we putting out there? For the Victoria Joneses of the world, what are we putting on the game film for people to want to work with us and be partners with us and to support us? And so that's why I believe every day we should be striving to be better at what we do, because that's the only way we're going to actively get people behind anything like that. So I do welcome the further conversations, and I think that we're gonna be all right, because that's the Dayton way. We're gonna come together and we're gonna make this thing rock. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Treasurer, once again.
1 second. Madam Treasurer, can you just let us know why we need to vote on this tonight, please?
Because
Oh, the deadline.
the deadline is HB 96 changed the forecast, the submission dates to October 15.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. I tend to know most of the answers to the questions I
Oh, yeah,
ask. I just want other people to know,
They
too.
better go read like we.
Go ahead.
You know, some people don't know that we have laptops here to see what we're discussing, so. Can I? Hey, y'all silly. Can I ask for, and this may be a long shot, is there a way to get a 5-year forecast breakdown? What I mean by that is, we have this general 5-year forecast, but I'm curious of what that looks like from an educational component for the district, but then an operational component as well. Like, we know, hey, Stivers may need a new roof in 3 years. Where is that in that forecast? Or like those type of things, just to see where some money is budgeted at before, like any type of reduction of force comes into a conversation or anything like that. But just seeing how that looks compared across the district and these department levels.
I mean, I don't think the forecast goes into that kind of detail. There are assumptions, and you can read the assumptions, and a lot of the assumptions are that we have to assume that we're going to make so much from the state, and you can't increase that. I don't think you can assume that real estate collections will increase or anything, although they have.
It's been increasing, and the collection is nowadays it's coming really good, like 91 to 94%, which we never had before.
So-
Even our delinquencies are coming good.
But like a particular capital project that we think like roof repair in a few years, I'm pretty sure it does not go into that kind
No,
of detail.
it did. No, like roof and other ones, we have another fund, which is 070 and 03. Those are to be used for those kind of expenditures.
And this is all 001, the general
Yes,
fund.
general fund.
Okay.
But if you want detail, you can see on the assumptions. It goes by detail.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you. Madam Treasurer, your first recommendation for a vote.
Okay. I recommend the approval of the financial forecast, the Excel portion and the PDF portion. The Excel portion is going to be downloaded according to the requirement into ODE. The financial forecast and assumption, even though it is loaded into ODE, it's not required. Since it's not required to be the 3-year forecast only, I put it 5 years for our own purpose.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Mr. Smith. We saw somebody down there. Let's go with Mr. Smith. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Woods,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Your next recommendation for review?
Monthly financial is a placeholder until the finance committee meets. The next one is minutes. Minutes for August 12, August 19, August 30th, September 9, and September 16. I don't think you will have questions on that. We'll go to purchase requisitions. Purchase requisitions, we have several of them. They are from different departments. Let's look together and we'll answer.
Go ahead, Ms. Woods, go ahead and ask your first question. The best way to learn is just to ask about it.
I mean, I was gonna ask you. It was one on here. I'm trying to find it. And my question was, why are we giving money to CJ and they aren't in the Dayton Public District? They aren't Dayton Public Schools at all.
Dr. Lawrence will explain that to you.
Maxfield Plummer.
That's a good one, Board Member Walker. Nevaeh, we provide lots of services for parochial and charter schools to the tune of almost $1.4 billion. And when you include vouchers, it gets close to $2 billion when you add additional services like this. So the simplest way I can put it for students is that we work and you attend a public school district. In America, there's an attempt to dismantle and destroy public school systems, and part of that is by us using our funds to fund other districts and organizations that are not public.
I had another question. Because I know at Ponus we have mannequins for our labs, and I seen it said that Meadowdale was getting educational materials. I was wondering, like, would they be like mannequins or?
I don't know exactly what materials are going to be, but most of those purchase requisitions underneath the treasurer's recommendation are academic materials. And so I certainly can find out what they're getting. Are you going to ask me, should Honus get some too?
I just wanted to know, I just want to know how their pathway is being formed, because I know our pathway has been going very well. So I wanted to see how Meadowdale's pathway is compared to ours and Belmont's pathway compared to ours.
Well, I tell you what, check this out. At the next Student Senate, of which you're the president, I will have everybody report out on their pathways, because you all have a big smile on your face when you talk about it. Actually, you did on the podcast, so everybody can talk about their pathways, and I'll even invite Ms. Dooley to talk about them.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I did have one.
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
So, Ms. Graham, you know what? You move it down there. Ms. Graham, you can just nod to this one. So with the title dollars that we get, you have to manage those for the charter schools as well?
They can't hear you.
Got it.
He told you can nod, but the people at home can't hear you.
They don't need you to come up. It was just a meeting.
Come on. It's not. You in a public meeting. You gotta stay on that. Right?
I tried.
Take you down the wrong path.
No, we just manage the funds for the private and parochial schools. Because the
Okay.
charter schools get their own federal funds, and they manage those themselves.
Okay, and then so another question I just saw here. Is this the first year that funds have been, like, we've approved anything for the Greater Dayton School?
No, this is not the first year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Lawrence,
Mhm.
before I came onto the board and this Greater Dayton School opened, I thought there was an agreement with them for some services or funding coming to the district. Is that not the case? Or?
That was the case. Those funds have come to the district. That was not a continuation agreement. I would say that AJ Stitch and I have had several conversations. I just was there a few months ago, and they remain committed to two things: a cap on the number of kids from the Dayton Public Schools, our footprint. I would say actually, yeah, there are a lot of kids there from outside, not from DPS, I think they also remain committed to the idea around sharing professional development. Some of the best practices that they have, that even though they don't have collective bargaining units like we do, they are doing some amazing things that I think it will be good for our team to see.
Dr. Lawrence, Dr. Jones, are we providing transportation now to the Greater Dayton School?
Oh, they have their own buses.
All right.
Thank you. Quick question for you guys. CBTSLL telephone, this says 24-25 school year? If that's correct, then that should be a then and now, because we're in 25-26. So is that a typo, or is that correct? I mean, y'all can figure it out. Y'all can figure it out, because if it is 24-25, then now, the then and now piece of it. But if it's 25-26, we just need to correct it. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Mr. Walker, yesterday's agreements are not today's agreements, we see.
I see.
Oh, Dr. Lawrence, with some of the changes around alternative school and some of the conversations that have been had moving forward, is there any connection or any changes with the way we have been working in our partnership and learning about the things that are going down with the Montgomery County Juvenile Court?
We are scheduled, we would be, Mr. Simmons and I are scheduled to have a court tour and to be in court to get more information about what actually is going on over there, because I read the emails, I see some of the correspondence, but I got to get over there and see that. So that's coming, it's before October is out.
Okay, with that, could I ask if we could get a presentation on what's currently going on at the alternative school, and kind of how you guys are seeing it, some of the needs that we may be forecasting in the future, especially in light of the conversation we previously just had. I would definitely appreciate that sooner than later, Dr. Lawrence.
We'll be ready to go next Tuesday. That works for Madam President.
Yes, can I add some questions some concerns that I've received from individuals out in the field regarding how we are doing assigning that piece of the school? Yeah, so one of the complaints I've heard is that we have a good amount of parents that aren't agreeing to send their children to the school, which doesn't help us because our goal was twofold. One, to put them in a wraparound program that helps them, and two, to not have them missing school when they do disruptive behaviors or things against the code of conduct. So I just kind of want some information on the amount of referrals that have gone over, the amount of parents that have not agreed to utilize that school, and if our initial pathway of hoping that people voluntarily is something that we need to revisit as well. I mean, if you get suspended, kind of, maybe a choice needs to be made for you at that point. I don't know. I want them to be successful, but I have heard a little bit of complaints about that piece of it, that parents aren't readily taking advantage of what we're trying to do. Do you have anything else on that, Mr.? There you go, Mr. Smith.
I won't be long, I promise. Oh, no, with that, I would want to not only kick it to you, Dr. Lawrence, but I would ask those involved in policy as well to look at if there are some needed changes that we need to look at, being that currently in the way things have been, if a student is not in a building because of behavior, which would be a suspension, they also have the ability to make up work for as many days as they have been out for. 5 days suspension, you have 5 days to get that work back. Being that now some students who are over at the alternative school, or students that, if we're making some changes on how we assign students, technically they would be in a school, but they would not be in their class. And so that may require us to do some looks at policy on how we allow students to do their work, or what that looks like, what it looks like educationally over at the alternative school. So I think it was going to require a deep dive now that we have things going and we're seeing some of the pros and cons, or some, I wouldn't even say pros and cons, just the ebbs and flows and some of the things that we may need to tighten up on. So I definitely encourage those involved in policy to look into that piece as well. And I promise I will not say anything else about it until we have the presentation next week. So, except the questions I'll come and ask you beforehand. I ain't gonna surprise you about like that.
Don't worry.
Thank you, Madam President.
Always appreciate it.
Thank you. In addition to that one, can I also request just a little bit of preliminary data that you guys are getting on the newly established Saturday school? Just a little bit about people showing up in that piece of it.
Yeah, that too.
And actually ask our staff how they feel about it. Maybe they'll tell you guys or not, but I just really want to know kind of, is it working? I like, it's an old school concept, but hey, if it's working, it's working.
Can't make everybody feel it. We'll work through it. So y'all try.
The attendance part is more important to me, of people are showing up to Saturday school.
All right.
Any other questions on purchase orders?
Did you catch that, Mr. Simmons?
All right, Madam Treasurer, your next recommendation?
We have Zen and Now. Let's review it, and if you have any question.
So we have two then and now. Can you guys just tell us a little bit about why these are on then and nows? Why these didn't go through the proper purchase PR process?
Absolutely. Mr. Harris, would you come up and talk about the first one?
God, Jordan was over there.
Mm-hmm.
You said they were both mine?
No, just one.
Okay, which one was that?
Just one. Just one.
The Dayton
And that's
Sport
a
Institute.
sweet shirt too.
Yeah, that's a nice,
RN
that's a
on the
nice
side.
fleece.
Nice.
The Dayton Sport Institute, the doctor, that contract.
Oh, okay. So our medical director, we pushed it up, but it wasn't in the proper process last school year. So this year we had to do the then and now.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was doing then, I guess.
I mean, yeah, you learned this year, that's all right. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
That's pretty much it.
All right, who's the second one from? It's been a minute since you've been up here, Chief Dooley.
That's the queen.
Ours is for our exercise science pathway at Meadowdale. That prescription for curriculum that rate was given to us for 3 years. And we didn't know, we had to bill every one of those 3 years. So we did not put in a purchase request for year 2, which we are currently in.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude your, are there any other questions on anything else? Does that conclude your recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Jones, your recommendation for review?
Thank you, Madam President. We have our first contract for review with AT&T. It deals with demarcation using a physical barrier between network lines at Welcome Stadium. The second contract is a renewal with Education Framework, and that primarily deals with student data privacy.
Okay. Any questions on the contracts for review? Thank you. Dr. Jones? Right, into new business. I recommend the approval of the following board travel. Sorry. Council of Great City Schools and NIAA Athletic Directors Conference. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lacy, second by Dr. Bailey. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes?
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Resolution to adopt board policy, first reading. Insomuch as the Board of Education is committed to the continuing updating of its policies, rules, and regulations manual, and the committee which was appointed has been working towards that goal. The following are brought at this time for first reading in compliance with Board File BFC policy adoption. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Dayton City School District, Montgomery County, Ohio, hereby accepts and adopts the following policies that have been codified for inclusion in the handbooks of policies, rules, and regulations. GCI, professional staff assignments and transfers. JECBB, admission of interdistrict transfer students. JED, student absence and excuses. JEDA, truancy. JEDC, religious expression days. These policies are being read for the first time. As such, a motion of second is not required. The policies will be available in the superintendent's office for review and comment prior to the second reading and adoption by the Board of Education. Furthermore, the policies will be reviewed by the superintendent's office, the board office, and the legal department of the Dayton Public Schools prior to the second reading. Any questions on the policies?
I have one
Go
thing.
ahead.
Quickly, Madam President. When we have it up for first reading, we have the policies to read underneath. We don't usually have that for second reading. Can I just ask that the policies be there for second reading as well, too?
Ms. Gary, can you guys make that possible?
Absolutely.
There
Thank you,
go.
ma'am.
All right, next, I recommend the approval of the following amendment to Resolution 25007.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Walker, second by Dr. Bailey. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Woods.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Mr. Lacy, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I passed out some notes about the Urban 8 performance index scores. I passed it around the room to some people. As I did that, I set my phone somewhere.
It's somewhere.
It's in this room somewhere because I'm getting messages from it. But yeah, it's a blue case. Oh well. The performance index scores for the Urban 8, it pretty much shows that the performance index scores rising since the inception in 2001 as districts learn how to teach the test. And then somewhere around 2014, the legislature told the Department of Education, you got to make it harder. So they did, and that's what. So then we have a couple of years where it drops drastically. Well, in 2020, of course, it dropped drastically because, of course, because of COVID. And then we've been rising since COVID, ever since. And we rise pretty much, the Urban 8 are pretty much in lockstep. We rise pretty much according to our median family incomes. This past year, Dayton Public did not rise as fast as the other Urban 8. And part of that, I think, is due, or probably most of that is due because Dayton, rather than the other Urban 8, had a significant rise in the immigrant student population. The immigrant student population has a lot of barriers to its performance. The main thing being language, and we have to put a lot of resources into that, and that creates a challenge for us. But we do welcome that challenge, and we welcome our immigrant students, and we look forward to working with them. And yeah, I did have a chance to since the last meeting I've been to visit the international school, and that was a very great visit. And I look forward to continuing to work with our immigrant population. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Reiner?
Thank you, Madam President. So I have a number of things. The first is that the engagement committee met and we talked over a lot of our Title I events that are being planned by our Title I coordinator. And as those are finalized, we will announce them. We talked about the life coaches and the work that they've been doing, as well as the we have a new member on our committee who talked about, we discussed some of the things that are happening in the Parent Cafe. Dr. Lawrence, I do have a request from parents that I don't know if it's possible to do a Parent Cafe not during the school day. Some parents wish to go, and having it Friday morning doesn't work for everybody. So I'm passing on that request to you. I was not able to attend the Southwest Region Fall Conference because I was attending my daughter's choir concert. But congratulations to all my colleagues across the Southwest region who received awards and recognitions. I want to bring everybody up to date with a couple of pieces of legislation, and then I'll dig into the analysis of the residential property taxes and the webinar. So House Bill 129 passed the House, and it affects fixed sum levies. Next, it will be moving to the Senate. House Bill 309 passed the House. It allows budget commissions to reduce the millage aside from a debt levy if it finds it prudent or necessary to do so. And they get to define what prudent and necessary means. The House Education Committee discussed a number of bills. The one I want to bring to the attention of Dayton, because I think it's fantastic, is House Bill 415, which is the Crown Act. It prohibits discrimination by a public school against an individual based on their hairstyle. And then there was in the House Public Insurance and Pension Committee, Dr. Lawrence, you will find this pertinent because it was in your weekly update. They discussed House Bill 473, which prohibits public employees from paying employee contributions to the SRS. I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
STRS and
yes.
Service and PERS.
Correct. That would greatly impact our employees. It's a bill that I oppose quite vehemently. We want to be able to serve our employees as best we can, and this one has some troubling aspects to it. So regarding the residential property taxes, if you go under my name, I have 3 documents there. One from OSBA, one from the Ohio Education Policy Institute, and one from the Ohio Education Policy Institute. And it's the analysis of the residential property taxes in Ohio. I'm not going to read all of those. I'm going to give the executive summary of what that is. Basically, we're at a property tax crossroads. There is a number of pieces of legislation that are being proposed that would be devastating, not just to public schools, but to municipalities, to counties. There are 4 reasons why we're here. The first of all is that home values are skyrocketing, which is good. We want our homes to gain in value. That's the whole point of buying a home. You hope that while you live there that it gains value and then you can live in it for a long time or you can sell it. But the home values have gone up nearly 46% since 2020. It's good for Ohio, but it can be frustrating when people are on fixed incomes and their property taxes are rising. We just got notice that our property taxes are going up pretty significantly, and it's a little bit of it's difficult to see that. I, for one, support property taxes. I support our local public schools. But I can understand why if you're on a fixed income, that can be really frustrating. The second is that Ohio has a pretty slow wage growth. Our per capita income is just 88% of the national average. State funding has shifted. 2 decades of tax cuts and policy changes have shifted more of the burden onto local taxpayers, who now pay 67.5% of all school property taxes. And all this information, by the way, is not mine. This is from the Ohio Education Policy Institute. And then House Bill 920 and levy fatigue. Nearly 400 districts are at the 20 mil floor, where reappraisals automatically raise taxes. And Ohio has more school levy campaigns than any other state. Nearly 13,000 operating levies since House Bill 920 was adopted in 1976. So a rise in home values, increased burden of school property taxes are now paid by homeowners. And our property tax burden, we are 8th in the nation for the burden of property taxes. The abated properties, the value of abated properties is up from $5.7 billion in 2004, placing more stress on homeowners. It's now at $26.6 billion. And there are 381 districts at the 20 mil floor in 2024. So this matters because if there is a movement to abolish property taxes, it would defund schools and essential services overnight. So the solution that is being proposed by a lot of the professional organizations, OSBA and BASA and OASBA, is that we need reform, but not repeal. The The suggestions are strengthen the homestead exemption and tie relief to income, protect seniors and veterans from unmanageable increases, cap growth in 20 mil floor districts while ensuring schools are reimbursed, and give districts flexible tools without undermining stability. I would encourage folks who are watching this at home and people who care deeply about their communities, about their public schools, about their municipalities, about the services, to contact their legislators. Let them know how they feel about this. Use these documents that are under my name. They're full of information. Some very respected names in school funding have produced them. I'm really grateful for those resources. And so that's an extension of the conversation that we had earlier, Treasurer. The next thing that I want to do quickly is ask Dr. Lawrence. I had a community member ask me about a week ago why we don't pay the background checks for parents or volunteers who want to volunteer in our schools anymore. And so I asked Dr. Lawrence earlier. Dr. Lawrence informed me that when that was approved, that we pay for the background checks, that it was only done on a one-year basis. I think if we want to engage our parents, if we want to engage our community members, our grandparents, our aunties and uncles, I think that we should pay for those background checks. And I would like to make a motion that DPS pay for the background checks of people who volunteer in our classrooms. And I would like to not put a limit on that at that point. So that motion is on the floor.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, moved in second. Any questions on the motion?
So
I have one. I just want to know, because we just had a whole conversation about finances.
Right.
And I would just ask kind of what it cost us and what would it be taken away from if we did go with this one. Thank you all, crowd. You know, Price is Right.
$47 and how many cents? $47.25 per
So
background
let
check.
me clarify my question. I'm asking, what did we pay in that year? And then what would it take away from you guys now
Right.
if we did that? So I'm not against us paying for it. I just want to know kind of what that lump sum that we would set aside for this amount is, mainly because I know we're also having conversations about supplementals and extra duties and some other competing things. And if I have to decide between them, I have to know what I'm deciding of giving up to do this one. So I'm not against it. I just kind of want to know the numbers.
I may be wrong, but I thought that, like, the policy was if they were with children unsupervised and they had to get a background check, or is it at total? In general, they just have to get a background check. How does that work?
I believe it was if you volunteer in our schools with our children, you go through a background check.
Is Chief Wright still here?
You know, but one of the lovely people out here should also know the answer to that question for you too.
And I mean, okay, and then for me, I think we get into a difficult area if we're just saying that people that volunteer in classrooms, we have people that volunteer in other capacities throughout the district, and now we're saying that those individuals only is ones that we're gonna. But I would be curious to see.
Mr. Smith?
Yes. Well, I definitely would want, I love for all the people that come and help out with our children. I truly appreciate it. I would not feel comfortable voting on something without data around what we're looking at when we're talking about costs. Also, what are we looking at in implementation? Is it that we would pay someone's background check? At what would flag us doing it? Because they said they would volunteer, because they would sign up. Like, what does this actually look like? Because what we could end up getting into a space if we do not do the due diligence part first, we could be in a space where someone says, I want to volunteer, I'll take this background check for free, and then how do I know if you're going to show up? Do we have anything inside of this to say, if you do not do these things, then you owe us back? Or because of that, does that look like if someone was to get a background check and then volunteer, would we reimburse them? Which I would be much more amenable to, being that they're getting the background check because they're doing something for us, which would be the volunteer action. So I think for me, it is getting the data. What does that look like? How is it triggered? And then how are we going to handle that Because what I wouldn't want to do is then just be the place where someone can say, I'm going to sign up for my child's school, and now I'm about to get this background check, and then I don't show up. Or I do these things and I'm not really intentional with how we do it, especially in the wake of just having a conversation about us being mindful about finances. But appreciate that, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Walker, you want to repeat your question since Mr. Wright is in the room?
Chief Wright, my question was, okay, so I just found a policy. Volunteers in the district who are like supervised by direct staff, do they still have to get background checked, or the ones who are not supervised directly by our staff have to get the background checked?
Currently, all background checks are done on volunteers.
Okay,
Or currently, all volunteers go through a background check.
got it.
It's anyone who's around children, correct?
Say again?
Anyone that's around children?
Correct, generally.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it is a policy that says that. So.
Any other questions on the motion?
I'd like to piggyback on what Will said too. I would be cool with letting them pay for a background check and then reimbursing them, because a lot of people use background checks for other stuff. They can come in and get a free background check from us and then go use it for something else, and then never come and do anything out of school. So I kind of agree with that part, but that's all I have.
Anyone else?
So are we saying that a volunteer pays for a background check, and if they become an approved volunteer, they get reimbursed?
I mean, that's not what's currently on the floor. Well, I really don't know.
I would probably get staff to go figure that out.
Yeah.
Bring us back a proposal. That's it.
Yep.
That's on the floor. The floor right now is just going on background checks, period, and covered.
So, Ms. Wright, would you be open to tabling this for 1 week to get further information?
Yes, I would. I will say the whole point of having the district pay for the background checks is because it is a burden that a lot of families don't have. To even $47.25 isn't always feasible. We know how people live paycheck to paycheck, and that's part of understanding who our people are in this district and wanting to give everybody the opportunity to help in the classrooms and help their children's or grandchildren's or nieces and nephews' educational experience as best they can. I would be open to discussing next week the possibility of reimbursing people who've already paid for background checks this school year. But I think an important part of it is paying it up front and not placing that financial burden on families.
So can I ask, while you're gathering this information, Dr. Lawrence and your team, I'm looking at our balances of principal funds. Is this something that can come out of principal funds to pay for those volunteers? Like, does that work that way as far as, hey, it's in my principal fund budget, I'm moving it to Chief Wright's budget to then cover that background check for that volunteer, or?
Talk to the principal, ask them their opinion.
That
There-
would be, I can tell you now, they would say no.
Right.
Yeah, I'm seeing some people shake their heads back there.
that.
I'm like, somebody's got some hefty principal funds.
I'm just saying, they would say no. I mean, they would see that as you kind of going in their pocket and telling them how they're gonna spend the money.
Okay, so, sorry, yeah, Chief Wright, I would be
Yes.
open to, like, scenarios on what that could potentially look like. Like I said, for me, I don't want us to give, background checks cost, and this is BCI, FBI background checks that essentially we're paying money to a third party to have this system here to do these background checks. So again, we just talked about how much money we need to save in our district. So then to do something like this, I'm just curious on, is there a cap on, hey, Stivers, you get 5 volunteers that you now can get free background checks. After that 5, then they need to pay out of pocket. Like, I'm just throwing it out there, not as a, this is what I want to see happen, but I think us giving money away like that type of thing, it's going to put us in the best way.
The only thing within safety and security is when I hear the term waived, no such thing,
Got it.
because we're paying.
Yeah.
And it's $47.25 out of my budget.
I would say, so if we say that it's going to be free for that volunteers coming directly out of your budget now.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I would push back on the idea that we should cap volunteers. This is an investment in building the relationship between parents and teachers and students. This is all about what makes people's education experience strong, is building that relationship of trust between those three. Having a parent volunteer in your classroom, I still remember when I went to kindergarten and I went to the Minnesota Zoo and my mom came with me. And I still remember all the times that I went through a background check and I paid for it, and I went to my kids' classrooms and I volunteered in their classrooms. This is an experience that not everybody gets to have, that is invaluable, that builds lifetime memories and relationships and bonds. I think that, having that here in Dayton Public and doing everything we can to foster that wonderful relationship is something that is worth investing in.
I want to echo, even with the things we're asking you guys to bring back, equity is a thing here. So if we're talking about classroom volunteers, we have to remember our extracurricular volunteers. And it's just expansive on the different things that people volunteer to do with us in that piece of it. So in addition to whatever else everyone else has asked for, I'm actually asking for, in the 1 year that we did this, how much did we spend? And how much activity did we actually have from those individuals who actually volunteered? If they stay with us a day, how do we track them? Were they here the entire year? Also, if you guys have proposals on what would kind of meet some of the different needs that you are hearing from the board here, I ask you to submit those. Kind of give us some middle ground here that meets this piece, because I do think volunteers are important. I also think fiscal responsibility is important, especially after getting that 5-year forecast piece of it. So I would ask you guys to, for me, I'm asking that come back in a week with this piece of it. Let me get that to you, Dr. Lawrence. And then Dr. Jones, since I'm asking about the athletic individuals, as well as people who may volunteer for the intramurals at the elementary level too. So just kind of whatever data we have on it, we just would like to see it.
Dr. Lawrence, years ago, I don't know if they still do it, the ESC and the Mentoring Collaborative used to actually pay, do background checks and did not charge those individuals who were serving in those type of capacities. Is this something that potentially Shannon Cox and them could take on at the ESC of them, doing the background checks instead of it coming out of your budget? We give them $8.9 million, but they end up reimbursing us what's left over. Is there a way to look at that in a sense to where, again, it's not coming out of our actual budget?
Yeah, there is. You can ask Jane, who used to work there for a long time, if that's something they still do.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you clarifying some things, Chief. I definitely would ask also Dr. Lawrence for your team to even look into talking to principals, talking to staff, and seeing where is the need really at. Because I get that we have a lot of people in our district that want to help in certain ways, but I think we are better served when we get the community around the issues that we face. I mean, we just had a perfect example, and you don't have to be right, unless somebody else got signed for chief, you ain't gotta be right there if you don't need to be chief. But I look at what happened when people in our community saw that students were not able to get district-issued passes, and you saw how immediately people raised funds. You saw immediately people come together. I think when we're in this space, when we talk about the fiscal duties of a district, the board plays a huge role in that, because the board is the only space that can really sit up here and make a vote and tell us to spend money just like that. And so if we're going to have real conversations about how do we budget, because we're looking out, and I'm looking out at people who many have had to suffer slashes in their budget over the past year. Many are facing the same thing possibly moving forward. So not only are we talking what I want the information on, just where is the need, what does the need look like? Because a need for some, when we talk about equity, is not a need for all. And then also, how do we put safeguards in place when we do this? Because one thing that we weren't doing at that time is really publicly announcing that we would do these things. So it was something where if someone came in to volunteer and they got that background check, they were told then, hey, this is what you need to do, which is much different than announcing, hey, if you say you're going to volunteer at Dayton Public Schools, we will give you a free BCI background check. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to go in whenever the board decides to tell the district to spend money. And I think that is the fiscal duty of the board and us looking into it. which does not take away the want of us to have parents and community members in our buildings, because I think we do a fantastic job of that. And I shout out all the people that help out, but I think we are better served when we actually get a handle on what the need looks like and what the handle on what the implementation looks like, and getting a handle on where we can allocate funds, like what does it truly look like? Because I think we get ourselves in trouble when we, as a board, make decisions on the fly, and then we task our staff with handling the decisions that we make. And that is more than just fiscal duty. I think that happens in other capacities. So I would encourage us, when we do these things, to have conversations with our staff on the front end, the same way we require our staff to have conversations with us on the front end when they have recommendations. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, so we still have a motion on the floor.
So if I may, Madam President, this has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate the ask for data, and I will withdraw my motion, and we can revisit next week. I would like to say this was a public conversation we had a couple of years ago, and we voted on it publicly to pay for background checks. So this was not done behind closed doors. This is what we did a couple of years ago. My next item of business is we talked about, and this is my last item of business, we talked a few weeks ago at the board retreat about hiring a lobbyist for the district. You know, the need for having somebody out in Columbus who has the relationships with our legislators to be able to watch things. You know, I watch a lot of legislation and I report to it, but it's not my full-time job. We saw directly the impact of not having somebody actually advocating directly for DPS out in Columbus when the amendment to House Bill 96 and the banning our kids through the RTA hub happened. And it only ended up influencing our district, and all the other major districts have a lobbyist that represent them. You know, we have the Ohio 8th that does a good job in lobbying for the large urban districts, and we have OSBA that does a really good job in lobbying for public districts all across Ohio. I think it would be really, really beneficial for our district to have that. But what I'm not asking for tonight is to pay for a lobbyist and to hire a lobbyist. What I'm asking the board tonight to vote for is just to do some exploring on who's interested in working with us and how much that would cost. So what I would like to make a motion for tonight is just to put out an RFP to see what interest there is and see how much it would cost and do a little bit more research about that. I'm not asking for any funds to be allocated. So I would like to move for DPS to put out an RFP to hire a lobbyist.
Second. Moved by Board Member Reiner, second by Ms. Witt. Any questions on the motion?
So this will essentially be another direct report to the board type of thing, the contract for the board?
Yes, it would go directly to the board because it would be working with elected officials. And that's how it is done in other districts.
Okay. You got any other questions, Mr. Walker?
Oh, you good.
Mr. Smith?
Okay, so to me, even if we're not talking about putting money for it right now, we're still talking about putting people's time towards it. And that is also a resource, and that is a resource we do not get back either, is the time. Also, it is false because it's correlation and not causation when we talk about the effects of not having a lobbyist when the bill affected Dayton, because lobbying in any way wouldn't have overrode local politics. The reason other districts weren't in the final draft of this bill that went out is because nobody from those other cities was putting it forward. That is the difference. So no amount of lobbying would have changed Dayton area politicians making a Dayton area decision and then making concessions as long as that the final result was what was wanted for at the beginning. And so I do not feel that, one, we are big enough to even warrant that. We also have other lobbying groups, and Dr. Lawrence could speak to that, that already advocate on our behalf. So outside of that, I would not want to go out on a search to even see what is out there when the only piece that we can talk about is a piece of legislation that was drafted and created by people that wanted to do something specifically in Dayton. When someone wants to do something, that much, though no amount of lobbying would have done anything. So all we would have done is paid someone money to come back and say, sorry, but this is what they wanted. And that is why, at the end of the day, it took a legal action on our behalf to do something. I don't think that the political winds in the state right now lend itself to us going out to look for something that we know even if we found something, then we would be spending money. So even though we're saying we wouldn't be spending money right now, the time used to do it is a fruitless endeavor for me, in my mind, because I do not see any way that any of us can say in any way anything we've seen recently from the state level or the federal level would be changed by Dayton paying a lobbyist to lobby on our behalf when we have people that have lobbied on the Urban 8's behalf, on urban districts across the country, and we get the same thing. We have sat in a board meeting and talked about how there's an onslaught on urban education. There's nothing a lobbyist is going to do for us to change people's minds if they're already going to do that. We see that all around. We see people talking about stopping gerrymandering, ain't changed. We see people talking about the funding formulas, have not changed. The only times we have seen change happen at the legal level, at the political level, from the state for urban districts is when urban districts banded together to go to the State House to do it. There's nothing that we've done on our own. So for us to sit here and think that any of these other cities were pulled out of this bill because of lobbying, it was also because they did not care about them being in it. And until we get to that point, we're now saying, okay, we're going to look and see what's out there. And then what if we find somebody out there? We're going to do what we just talked about, which is being fiscally imprudent. And so for me, I would not even want to support the looking for someone if no one here can actually tell us how that would actually have a return on investment that would fill any gap that we currently would have. Thank you, Madam President.
Any other comments on the motion? All right, seeing none, Madam Treasurer, Ms. Ryan, if you tell us what we vote on again, and then Madam Treasurer, then we have a vote.
We are voting to put out an RFP for lobbying services.
Okay.
President.
Hold on one second, Ms. Witt, I have a question though.
In the RFP, I mean, and I hear what you're saying, Board Member Smith, and thank you, Board Member Reinhardt. I think it's important work. I mean, I think that had perhaps we had a lobbyist, that maybe we wouldn't have been put in the position of the last situation, whether or not it was local or not. Is there something that?
No, it is funny. When our mayor and our state reps and our senators say by hell or high water this is going to happen,
Yeah,
I
but
do not see how we pay somebody to tell them to change their mind
Yeah, but
if the people they work with every day already said something. It's not like we live in some huge town where we cannot go talk to the mayor and our state reps. I do not see how us paying someone, that becomes a racket. When we're looking to pay someone to speak on our behalf in a space where any of us are an hour and a half away from Columbus, in a space where we are 2 blocks away from City Hall, in a space where we see
Mr. Smith,
our...
you're taking Ms. Witt's
I'm
time.
sorry, I'm just saying, she asked me a question and I was going
I
to
just asked
answer
you
it.
why you were
So
outwardly
yes,
laughing at
because
it
it
to
was,
explain yourself.
it was
Because I think it
amusing
was
to
rude,
me.
so I'd
I'm
like to
sorry,
finish
it was amusing. It's rude to lie to people.
It's rude to behave that way, so I'll just put
Okay.
a pin in that, okay?
That's nice.
Anyway, I think that perhaps had we had potentially this, I'm not saying there's right or wrong here, but I'd like to see what the opportunity is, that if we had a lobbyist that was fighting on behalf of the charter schools and the unchartered area there that is protecting our district from having to bus charter school students, that it would protect us. So, anyway, Jocelyn, Board Member Reiner, could you please make sure in the RFP that it includes a scope of services and identifying the work and what could potentially happen? Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments on the motion?
Quick comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Blake.
I mean, I think actually, based upon the testimony of the legislators at the hearing, they were pretty much they were pretty much dead set on the path that they were going to do Really, just, they didn't want Dayton Public School students downtown at all, they admitted. And they actually felt that they had some support from Dayton Public Schools in what they were doing. The previous superintendent brings to mind, and plus other people that they said were that they had met with, they felt like they had their backing. So yeah, I think they would have gone through with it, whether we had a lobbyist or not. Thank you, Madam President.
Ms. Reiner? Oh, sorry.
I think it would be better to do a request for information, which is gathering information from potential vendors instead of a RFP, which is officially soliciting for a scope of work.
Are you open to that, Ms. Reiner?
Thank you. I am agreeable with that, yes.
All right, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to your motion.
People don't know
Agreed.
RFPs
Thank
are
you, Madam
here.
President.
God, Jesus.
David, you could have said that like 15 minutes ago. Everybody in the room is looking.
30.
Something we're supposed to do.
All right,
It's
Ms.
elected
Reiner, you
official
have something?
anyway.
No.
All right, thank you guys all for your comments. Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
President
What
Goodwin,
What are we
We
voting
made the
on?
amendment, I made the amendment to what
Yes.
you exactly
Yes.
said.
And I accepted the friendly amendment.
People were laughing, but we moved on.
President Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr.
It's easy
Lacy,
work.
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Ms. Woods,
Yes.
7 yeses.
All right, as we finish the night, board members, because y'all taking a lot of time in y'all closing comments, I'm just gonna request that the remaining individuals go shorter tonight, and then we'll give you more time next week. And the people who've gone longer tonight, if you can go shorter next week, just to be respectful of, like, we're not done, but those people out there have been here all night. And it's just a request. You don't have to honor it, but I do hope that you do honor it. Mr. Walker,
He
I
said.
actually have no comment.
thank you.
Hey, don't push it, because you said I go no longer
Ms.
next
Wick,
week.
Ms. Wick,
And you.
thank you. Mr. Smith,
Oh, I got time. No, I
Oh,
do.
No, I'm sorry, I did have something.
Come
we
on,
already
man.
moved on.
No, I do need to, we need to do a motion to reconsider on something.
We come back to you. Mr. Smith,
All right, first off, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the pain in our Dayton community right now. Recently, a 5-year-old was lost due to gun violence in this community. And it is a sombering reminder of the world our students are living in, and we really must stay mindful of the community that we are in. So when we talk about the need to be fiscally responsible, a lot of that for me also comes into the need to really hone in on why we are truly here, which is to work to better the lives of these students around here. We've lost too many people. I can't count right now how many students I have seen lost to gun violence in just my brief time here on the board. And that's just gun violence. That's not even talking about the people who have lost parents or siblings to gun violence. The society we live in, it doesn't stop when they walk into the schools. That trauma, that instability, that exposure to violence and uncertainty outside our walls not only impact their mental health, but we have to realize it impacts the mental health of those that work with them every day. And when they're going up against that, that is why we must also do everything we can to make sure that we don't add additional stress to the people that work here every day, because they often take that burden. They take that home with them. There are people on our staff that are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we must acknowledge that. So I just want to lift that up. I want to lift up all the meaningful work going across the district that's happening every day in our classrooms, in our buses, down here at Ludlow, and every space that we have. I want to lift up the the people that really play a role in filling gaps in our community. I want to say that I appreciate the conversations that the board has had tonight, but I just think, even though I voted to have information, which is what we should do, gather information, I think the only way we truly change things in a political way in Dayton is advocating and educating our community. Our community is going to do far more than anybody we pay as far as advocating for our community, because they're the ones that can get out there and go vote. So I would like to lift that up. But lastly, on a good note, I want to shout out Erica P. in the Place to Be, who's our Title I Parent and Family Program Coordinator, because this Friday at Koji Burger, which is at 127 East 3rd Street, everyone who purchases a burger, Koji Burger said for every burger purchased there, they will donate $1 to Dayton Public Schools. And so I just want to shout out her and the work that she's doing and making connections in our community, because I think that's how we grow. And that's how we let people know. So everybody out there, try to stop by, try to support. It's a downtown business, so it's centrally located. Everybody here, if you want, go over there and get some lunch, because they're actually working to help us. And we want to show that we support people that are trying to support our children. So once again, that is this Friday, October 17th at Koji Burger. They are donating $1 for every burger that is sold there that day. So tell your friends, stop down, do something. And that's how I think we need to really start growing and moving. So with that, thank you, Madam President. Thank you all. You all have a nice evening.
Ms. Woods.
Hi, guys. Student Center had a meeting today where we spoke with Nutrition Services, and we all really got a good look on why we can and can't have certain things in our foods and certain foods at all. We were also able to give our opinion on certain things that we wanted and certain things that we wanted to bring back. I also attended another Ford and GL meeting, and it honestly does feel really amazing to be the voice of other students and be able to say, like, hey, we feel like this, we feel like that, and not feel neglected, but to feel heard. I was also going to speak on Legacy. That was her name. I believe she went to Emerson. Her family did create a donation fund for her funeral. I did donate. If you guys could donate, I feel like it would be really well deserved for her mom, because her mom was struggling a little bit. I am sending my prayers out to the family, love and prayers to the family. And then David H. Ponitz, our Ally Health Pathway seniors and juniors, I believe, are going to clinicals next week. Wish us luck. And we take our final exam this Thursday. That's all. Oh, I can share the link to her donation fund as well if you guys are open to donating. Thank you, guys.
Dr. Bailey.
Yeah, I just want to say that I've also been praying for that family. It was a pleasure to walk with the students the other day when they went over, the 18-year-olds, to vote at the county. That was really great. The bands were awesome. All of our bands, I think, showed up on that day. We even saw our international school band had their new uniforms on and everything. Mr. Walker talked about that and was very pleased to see that. And then my last thing is I was at a service on Sunday, and Miss Winfrey sang her face off, and she just really blessed me. So okay. Oh yeah, she was doing her thing. For anybody that didn't know, she sang. I didn't even know. I know she's been a part of choirs, but I didn't know that she sang. And she said she did one of them things like my mom, when my mom getting ready to tear the mic up, she goes, "Well, I'm not really feeling all that great." And then she let us have it. So I greatly appreciate that.
Take your time.
Thank you all for coming out tonight and bearing with us. Amen.
Take your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Minor and Chief Sheehy. You got the band uniforms that we've been working on for like 2 years, and you got us all the way to the finish line, and that's amazing. Thank you, Ms. Minor, because if you guys come out to the Spirit Shop, you're going to see a lot of people moving. You're going to see prices on clothes. It's a real store now. And I want y'all to know, Nevaeh work for us now too. I'm excited. She has very limited hours because she also has another job that's really important to her scholarship, and we support that 100%. So Ms. Minor's happy with that. I am actually going to yield my time to Dr. Lawrence because I've gotten a lot of people reaching out to me about special education and what's happening at the federal level and how that impacts us. And I think you need to hear from our district leadership who deals with our actual department more than you do the politicians who deal with the political side of it. Go ahead, Dr. Warren.
Hey, thanks, that's a good one. At the federal government, as you've has probably seen, almost 4,000 or more employees have been furloughed. There's an attempt to, that's about 20% of the Department of Education workforce. The question is, how does that affect us? We have a District 11 plan that deals with compliance, and I'm looking at Dr. Densmore, and over the last 2 years, she and her team have diligently, I've watched it, because I get the reports, worked on getting our compliance to a point where we're almost completely compliant. So I would say to the general public that we are way ahead of the game. We have staff in place to make sure we complete ETRs, IEPs, 504s, that we have district representatives. All special education services will continue to move forward at this point. And any other disruptions that may come in the future, we are actively planning for what those things may be. We just met today at 4 o'clock to talk about lots of things associated with that. And also at the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, you see massive furloughs, cuts, and layoffs there. I would just say that nationally, I'm speaking for all of our superintendents, especially the ones in the council, eventually these types of staff reductions will affect us from a reporting standpoint and compliance to begin with. And then further down the road, we really are clinical practitioners, even though many of us have doctorates, PhDs, EDDs. We don't necessarily do research anymore because we deal with the clinical practice of the work every day. And so there are lots of research that's done at the federal level and state level that helps guide our practice in empirical ways so that we can do the right thing based on research. And you will see a reduction in research actually come to a halt, and that's going to be bad for all kids, but in particular, our most vulnerable. So I would ask you, we talked about legislators, I would ask you to reach out to your legislatures and say, hey, please continue to not continue, push back, become a resistor, and fund public education. And then a special thanks to Lisa G. Minor for sitting in the hot seat here last month. I appreciate you because it is hot up here. And thanks for the rest. Thank you to the rest of the team for the support while I was out. The entire team, finance, operations, everybody. And thank you to the board members. Your text messages and flowers when I was in the hospital. They said you must be important, especially the flowers you sent out to me when they were pretty expensive.
Don't worry about that. I go to work every day.
And then, I see Nevaeh Wood's name on here, and Nevaeh, it says student senate representative, but aren't you the president?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think maybe we should make the adjustment on here since we can do that in real time.
Did you make the agenda?
No, this is a board agenda.
Eric, can you get that corrected?
This is a board agenda, and so I want to sit right here. It should say president. And then thank you so much, Aaron, to the county event last week at the convention center. I think there were almost over 50 booths inside and out of different classifications of jobs. Our kids were amazing. I think Mr. Simmons mentioned it, but I want to double down on it. And then thank you to kids voting. We had almost 4,000 kids vote and gave grades 3 through 12. And then last but not least, happy 86th birthday to my mom.
Happy birthday.
And with that, a beautiful surprise, motion to adjourn.
Second. Oh, let's dip, player.
Been moved in second. Madam Treasurer, may we have a vote?
Yes, we're gonna have an executive
President
session.
Goodwine,
Yes. No.
Dr. Bailey,
Dr. Bailey.
You were cold with it.
Call me your name.
You are cold.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Double yes.
Mr. Smith,
We.
Ms. Reinhardt, yes. Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Ms. Smith,
Yes, everyone say yes. We're adjourned.
I didn't really have